And sir, your first name, please, and your question.
My name is Warren, and my remark is, I would like to have a business that guaranteed me that I would make 10% profit. You've never had a loss in any of your restaurants? I had some losses, and I wished I'd been guaranteed a 10% profit. Well, under the regulations of a water company's operation, they are guaranteed to be allowed to make 10% profit every year. Is that an honorable approach to doing business, as opposed to buying the water company and operating it for the best interest of the community? Now, I want to be the first to tell you that I never had anything but a fuzzy feeling for the water company as it used to was. But when it comes out that it's been sold to foreign entities, and that foreign entity could have been Frankfort, Kentucky. When it comes out that it's been sold to foreign entities and it's being kicked around whether it's going to go public or whether it's going to be sold to Qatar or whether it's going to be sold to the Australians or to whomever, I don't want that kind of ownership for my water company. This is too important a thing for us to allow outside people to own. How can you, in your good judgment, say that you are willing to see an outside entity own the water company, raise its rate at will, as it did in the recent raise that they got, which they swore they wouldn't take, and raised, I think, was it 19%? Is that right? 9%. 9%. But automatically raised their rate. They raised it 9%, but it asked for I think 16 or 19% increase. That just doesn't make good judgment to me that I should see a water company and then turn around and raise it again. And if you look at some of these other water companies that American Water Company owns, they've raised rates well above that. So how can you trust a company that's going to be running that effort with that approach?
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Scanlon?
Boy, it's hard to know where to start with that. Warren, you're probably one of the most respected businessmen in this part of the country, and that respect is held by me as well. But some of the facts are just a little fuzzy here. Number one, the water company absolutely cannot raise its rates at will. It is regulated by the Public Service Commission. When they try to raise their rates and the Public Service Commission doesn't get the case made to their satisfaction, they roll the rates back. You know, if the government owned the water company, we'd have 15 politicians deciding what the rates would be. The rates would be set by the council according to the documents that have been written and presented to the council. Well, you know, you can say that, read the documents, the council has to approve all the rates of the water company. The folks wrote it, and that's a fact. So we lose the regulatory effect of the Public Service Commission. And I think, Warren, you and I both know as businessmen, we evaluate an organization by its results. How's it running? I hear a lot of prejudice about outside ownership from other countries, but I'm looking at the last couple years of ownership of this company, and it's been good. The water's there, the water's clean, everything with that company is going very well. So we talk about outside ownership as if it's automatically bad. Nobody can point to a result that's been bad for Lexington, and nobody can point to any indication that it's going to get bad. There's lots of emotion, there's lots of thinking, but the facts are the company is owned by an outside foreign entity, and all the predictions that you folks made a couple of years ago that things would go bad didn't go bad. It's still regulated by the Public Service Commission, and I, as one soon-to-be former politician that have seen how governments operated from the inside, the last thing I want is a bunch of elected officials to set the rates for a water company and to appoint the board.
Mr. Ockman, you were shaking your head no when he said that the council would be deciding on the rate increases.
got to start out the same way Mike started out to Warren. It's kind of tough to where to dig into that response and grab hold of things. But I want to start with the rates issue, and I think perhaps later in the program it might be good to focus 2 or 3 questions just on the proposed outline for a local water authority. But the task force recommendation led by Richard First did not recommend that the council set the rates. The recommendation, and I have a summary of it here from Dean First, is that the water authority would make the first recommendation on whether to raise, lower, or maintain rates. It would then go to the council, which would have to vote to approve an increase. That's true. But the rate change would never originate with the council. Secondly, in the last rate increase case before the Public Service Commission, the water company asked for approximately 15% rate increase, and the commission allowed a 9% rate increase. The fact is, however, that the day after the vote to terminate litigation went down in council chambers, the water company sued the commission in the Franklin Circuit Court to ask for the full 15%. And finally, I want to just talk about the approach you're bringing to this debate, because Cruiser, I think this is critical to an understanding of the different approach that he and I bring to analyzing this issue. And it goes back to when my old friend Alan Stein and I were debating as partners in high school. There are 2 kinds of cases you make in a debate. One's called a needs-harm case. You don't win that case unless you show that the other team did something bad. And that's what Mike is asking you to do, to believe a needs-harm case has not been presented. The truth of the matter is what Flo has always advocated, and those in favor of local ownership have advocated from the very first moment I stood before the Urban County Council to make a statement, is that local ownership is better. It's called a comparative advantage case in the debate world. If I can show you that all things being equal, my proposal has at least one benefit, then that is a comparative advantage and that should win the debate. That's the difference in the approaches here tonight.
All right. Mike, you want to respond quickly, and then we'll take another question.
So I said a couple of minutes ago that the council sets the rates. Half the room stood up or sat there and said, no, 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 that isn't true. Mr. Ackerman shook his head and said, no, 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 that isn't true. Then Mr. Ackerman just said that the council has to vote to approve the rate increase. Now, when a group of elected officials have the right to vote yes or no to a rate increase, in anybody's definition, that's setting the rates.
All right. We are conducting a town hall meeting on the water issue, which will of course be on the ballot here in Fayette County on November the 7th. It's live from downtown Lexington at the main branch of the Lexington Public Library here on News Talk 590 WVLK. I'm Cruiser, your host and moderator. We have Vice Mayor Mike Scanlon advocating for the Vote No coalition, and Attorney Foster Ackerman Jr., who is the lead attorney for Bluegrass Flow, and he is on the side of Vote Yes. We have another question at the Vote No microphone. If you would give us your first name, please, and your question, sir.
My name is Greg Tomko, and a basic business premise is the best predictor of future performance is past performance. With that in mind, who should be operating the water company?
I assume that would be for you, Mr. Ackerman.
The question is, what past performance can you point to justify the government, I presume would be the way you would phrase it, to justify the government owning the water authority? Would that be a fair restatement of your question?
Yes.
Because obviously the Lexington Urban County government has not owned a water authority in the past, so it has no utility operating experience in that regard. However, the general model for the water authority would be the Civic Center Board or the Bluegrass Field, which are independent entities, the boards of which are appointed by the mayor with confirmation by the council, who then hire professional management to run those particular enterprises. And I would point to those as examples of where the government can do it.